So when I originally started my project, I wanted to do what happens to you when you're oppressed. And this interested me because I was really doing a lot of psychology work lately through like class and through other projects. But as I started to think about it, I realized I didn't really care about what happens to you. I want to know how to break that. I want to understand how they're controlling me so that way I don't end up as a sheep. So the first case I looked at was A Brave New World. And this is a book about a society in the future where the government has complete control over you from the moment that you're conceived. Through the entire pregnancy, they can manipulate you in any way they want you to, so that way you turn out exactly how they want you to be, and then while you're being raised as a child, they can say whatever they want to you to try and convince you to go one way. And so that's their entire goal, is to make them look like this way of life is the way to go. But also at the same time, there's the other path, because nobody questions why they go this path and not this path. And so they do that by making it seem like that way of life is just an awful way to live and that you don't want to go there. And so a really good way of looking at this in the real world is looking at North Korea. And so there, they grow up and they're instantly under the regime of Kim Jong-un. And so they immediately say, hey, you need to grow up and you need to follow us and you need to support our country and you follow this. It's very cult-like almost. And so that's one way of controlling, but there's another way represented by One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And so this is more of a threatening way. So in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is about a mental hospital where the patients in it aren't the most crazy, but they turn very insane once the head nurse there starts trying to control them because she likes control. And she does this through two ways. The first way is intimidation, just by being threatening herself, and the other way is through like giving actual threats out, physical threats. Because it's a mental hospital, they can put you in the a not as strong electric chair and shock you for medicine, and so that can cause you to act out of fear out of that. And so a way of looking at this in the real world would be Night. And so that was a book about Nazi Germany that we read last year, and the Nazis would convince the Jews to go along and follow their plan, because if they didn't, they would kill them on the spot. And so even if they knew they were going to be killed later down the line, they didn't want to be killed on the spot, so they would follow it. So if you want to look at both of these two ways of controlling, there's one main aspect that's similar between both, and that's fear. And that's the idea of fear of going down one path versus the other. And so that the fear walls you off from going in a direction. So to control you, they wall you off every exit you have except for one, and then they force you to go down one. And this makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, we're all trying to run away from fear. Fear makes us really irrational, or at least a real fear does. And so when it happens, like, all we want to do is escape it at all costs. So if you can create all of these fears, it causes you to run in that direction and get out as fast as you can. And so that wasn't too surprising to me. But what was surprising to me was how apparent it is in our society, because the other cases were extreme cases. But if you think about like the election, if Clinton was going to win, I believe the system was going to be corrupt and it was all going to fail and America was going to die. And if Trump was going to win, everything was going to go insane and the system was going to fail and we were all going to die. So don't be afraid of things just because somebody tells you to do it, and don't be a sheep. Thank you.